Baseball isn't just a game, it's a pursuit, a chase full of failure, resilience, and the moments that define who we become. From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Chasing the Game with Phil Sanchez. Real stories from real players and real coaches who refuse to quit.
Welcome back to Chasing the Game with Phil Sanchez. Today we're joined by Zach Weatherford, the recruiting coordinator and hitting coach for Indiana University. We talk about the upcoming season in Bloomington, the continued growth of baseball here in the state of Indiana, what the recruiting process really looks like, and how the success of Indiana football helps elevate programs like baseball. All right, Zach, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, no problem, Phil. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so you guys are gearing up for the season. What can we expect from the Hoosiers this upcoming 2026?
It's going to be a different team. We're not trying to talk ourselves up. We're just trying to earn it. I think this group has been showing up every day, with a purpose. Just from the last year, leaving a little sour taste in our mouth and returning a lot of the core group, at least offensively. And I feel like if we play the way we're capable of, we'll surprise some people this year. Returning some key guys in the infield and got older on the mound with some experience to kind of grow those young guys too. So kind of put it all together. It's a group that, like I said, shows up, wants to practice, wants to get better, don't complain. And, we're excited about this group.
Who are some of the players to keep an eye on if folks are heading out to watch you guys play this season?
I'd say on the mound, Jackson Bergman, transfer from Toledo, has really made some tremendous strides on the bump, and a sophomore lefty, Braden Thomas, as well too, has made some great strides to be in that starter role. And then on the position player group, local guy Hogan Denny from Mooresville, Indiana, a really good bat, being like the catcher right field role. Obviously, Jake Hanley, returning freshman All-American and third-team All-American right now, has been the consistent in that lineup. Cooper Malmazian at short and Will Moore at third base. But some other guys that have been in the weeds that have been working, kind of behind the scenes from last year that will have a chance to kind of show themselves. We went out in this summer and played really well. It's Braden Ricketts and Cole Decker. So, yeah, it's exciting stuff.
So when it comes to sports at Indiana University, obviously you guys have been national news for the last few weeks with the success of the football team. How does that trickle on down to baseball, especially in your role when it comes to recruiting? I would imagine that there was maybe some more interest in IU as a home for some potential future baseball players.
No, it definitely has. There's been a lot of love on that end. Obviously, all the kind of 27s that we were going after in the time that weren't, committed yet were, raving about the football team. And so it just put us more on a national scale. And now with us being the biggest alumni base in the country, that also helps too. So everywhere we go, we travel, and it's like, go IU. And I had an opportunity to go to the Big Ten Championship game, obviously in Indianapolis, but also to the Peach Bowl in Georgia. And it was unbelievable to see all the IU fans out. But when it comes to recruiting, yeah, I'm sure with this 28 group too, talking to the scouts and the agents and the high school coaches, yeah, Indiana's on top right now.
So, college baseball has grown significantly so much over the past few years. How much of a commitment has come from maybe, the administration at IU and stuff as far as an investment in the program?
No, they have. They've shown, tremendous kind of benefits towards us, from the top. And then, you heard Signetti always say it always starts from the top. And Scott Dolson's a baseball guy, he's our AD, and he's helped us out on the financial side with, a little bit more scholarships in state and out of state, just to be more competitive. And so they've shown a true dedication to, help grow our sport specifically.
Yeah, because, obviously a lot of the talk these days is about NIL. It's a lot different in baseball than it is in basketball and football, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think what makes us a little bit unique in that NIL realm is it's all merit-based, and I think that's the way it was intended to be. I know you hear all these crazy stories now, like we're trying to provide you a great experience and a great education. We're not here to provide you a car. And so You come here, you earn it. If you want more money, per se, you just become a really good player for Indiana.
Love that. So when it comes to Indiana and specifically what you do on the recruiting end, Indiana's always been known as a basketball state at the the youth level and the high school level. But over the past few years, we've really kind of become a baseball state, especially here in the Midwest. I like to say almost like a hot spot. Max Clark and a lot of Sean Dunlap now, a lot of guys who have come out of this state over the past few years and are coming out of this state. What do you attribute to that, and how intensely do you recruit in Indiana compared to other Midwest states?
You always got to dominate your state. And so from a recruiting standpoint, since the time I've been here and learning, and then now into the recruiting coordinator role, recruiting your state is priority, and it's number one. And I'm really excited for this 28 group to come, but even the 26s that we have and the 27s as well. It's, I think it's kudos to the high school coaches and the facilities and the way they run their programs. And you're talking, Fisher and West Lafayette, Zionsville, Carmel. Like, there's some really good high school coaches in the state. And, the kids that we want in our program too. And so probably kudos to them. Kudos to these facilities that are in this Midwest area that allow us to continue to train. I kind of, before we got on here, talking about that earlier. And so the kids are under the right leadership, and then those are kids that you want in your program. When
you talk about commitment to baseball, compare Indiana to maybe say some of the other states around our region when it comes to that commitment. Whether it be on the high school level or the travel level and such.
I would say I can speak on I guess at the college level for us and what I know. We kind of always been operating on that 11-7 budget and the scholarships and things like that. But with the new commitment now from the top, it's allowed us to be more competitive, where we were getting kids, kind of talk about Jake Hanley or Devin Taylor, in the past from Ohio, on the relationships and the player development and the atmosphere here. Like, this town is amazing. If you put a good product on the field, these fans will really have your back and support.
Yeah. So, obviously with all the talent coming out of here, we have the SEC, we have teams, Louisville not too far, ACC teams. So how is it when you're competing for a kid? How tough is that? And do you think that it's getting a little bit easier from an Indiana University perspective?
Yeah, it's definitely going to get easier. And I know we kind of talked about it from a football standpoint, but the ultimate goal is you have to win, and you have to win, and kids want to play at the highest level. And so, I guess at first it's always tough because, you finish second to a team in the Midwest that's in the SEC or somewhere down south where they want to get warm, wherever the case is. And so, although it kind of hurts in the moment, in the long term how this kind of plays out, where kids go out and want to go do those things, and maybe that brain isn't how, what fits them from a recruiting standpoint and their model. And everyone's trying to go old. We've always been a high school dominant model class. And so you go out and you're kind of competing against a guy that's 23, 24. It's like, kind of how it's going to be hard. And so they always come back. So you have to have a great relationship for when that cycle comes back around in the portal, and you made that great relationship up front with them, that you can kind of come in that and come back home.
To that, we expand upon that a little bit. I'm really interested in that. Do you guys look high school first, or is it transitioned so much to the point that you guys are more portal based?
No, definitely high school first. You have to. I think that's just your long-term play to be successful consistently. And that's what everyone's chasing. They want to be successful, but can you do it from a consistent standpoint? And our high school classes have always done that for us. And we lead the country in freshman All-Americans to this day. And the idea is you bring in a freshman, and he develops, and he gets a ton of ABs and experience. And then he's a sophomore, and he's in your program as a junior, and they go off to be drafted. So it's a little different where, you look at the roster and it's, man, you don't have a ton of seniors. And that's by design, where they get a ton of exposure and at-bats early, where they should have dreams and aspirations to play in the big leagues. And we can provide that from a development standpoint and do it, with the best in the country, even from the Midwest. And so we're relying on those young guys to step up. And the recruiting process is important for us to find, kind of high character guys that obviously play the game the right way, for sure. But you never really know. Recruiting is very hard in that realm, where everything can line up, and then something, whether it's usually, kind of on the mental side, how they approach every day and how they deal with failure, things you can't really see necessarily when you're recruiting the guy on the field.
Yeah. For maybe some of our listeners, viewers who are younger, what would you recommend for them if they're approaching those years where they're going to be recruited? Obviously, social media plays a huge role. You talked about the mental side, academics. What would you recommend to a young kid out there who wants to maybe play one day at Indiana University?
Big thing for me that I've seen is just, everyone is on their kind of own journey, where there's a lot of times it's easy to compare and contrast. Why is he getting this? Why am I not? I would say just really be good where you're at. And I know that sounds probably cliche, but some people are late developers, and, some that are early right now who, maybe getting all the praise and the love. Really good teams that can evaluate, can see the long-term growth. I would say control what you can control up front. And and what we tell our guys too, because it's so true, the decisions you make now impact what you do in the long term. So although that decision that you chose to, hey, it's kind of cold outside, I'm gonna do my work tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Although that might not it's always going to catch up. It may not be that week, or maybe not even that month or year, but one day it's going to catch up. And so just do everything you can to control that, and just kind of let time tell.
So when it comes to the weather, is it ever difficult for maybe you to convince somebody from a warmer weathered state to come up here to Indiana or out here to Indiana if they're from the West Coast?
Yeah, man, that's definitely a challenge. And, we've been fortunate. Like, we have in our 26th class, we have a couple kids from Georgia and a kid from California. And so they came out on winter prospect camps, and they came in the winter, in the cold. And they're from great families, but they kind of families relay that to them. Like, go out when it's kind of the worst conditions and see if you still like it. Because obviously, with us being the most southern Big Ten school, weather really isn't a factor, obviously, in the spring. Yeah. And so if you can endure it in the winter, and they loved it, and they committed, and you can get over it a little bit. We have a guy transfer from Arizona, and he always jokes with the team around the guys, like, man, Coach Weatherford said it never snowed here and it was never cold, and he got me committed. But no, you got to be upfront. And and again, it's been more per se in the 27 group. Even, like, we have 2 kids from Arizona committed, so a lot of connections. Again, a lot of alumni, a lot of people that love this place that have now been in positions to either coach a travel team or run an indoor facility that can give good recommendations. Like, man, go up to the Midwest. It's tougher. It's just tougher. Like, I have a group chat, and I know I'm belaboring the point, but a group chat with a couple of the SEC football fans, and it's always like, you guys can go up, and Georgia can go up and play football in Ann Arbor, in the cold, on the grass, So it's just, once they get over it and they get here, they'll love it.
They do. Yeah, Bloomington's a great place, no doubt. What about, like, showcases and stuff like that? What do you recommend for the young kids? What age should they start looking into all of this? What age should they start putting their name out there?
I think maybe I have a personal opinion that may be different. I think, so for example, the 2029s right now, I think it's more important. Obviously, you have to really play in the spring and perform. I think that's important to win for your high school team. That circuit, I know there's a junior futures games, but more importantly, I think that's a great time to just pull away, train, get better, develop at things that you got to get better at. Because once you hit that next cycle, man, you're off and running, you're playing all summer. From a showcase standpoint, I think it's important to do one a year so we can track kind of the evolution of how you're developing, and it shows us the aptitude of you as a person and your willingness to get better. So I would say one a year is good. And then once you get into that cycle, to be able to be recruited that following the year, like playing in really good tournaments and playing down south against other good teams, and just so you have a good awareness of kind of who you're competing against. And there's a ton of good tournaments. Obviously, Grant Park is a phenomenal place to host a ton of good talent, so that's great up here. But it's also good to go down there and kind of see where you stand.
How important are metrics? Obviously everyone lives and dies by the numbers these days, but at the end of the day, you can be a guy who can blaze through a 60, but when it comes down, or, hit a crazy exit velo, but when it comes down to it, when the game is on the line, you also got to be able to perform. So how do you balance that? I would imagine that's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's tough. I guess the metrics get you a seat at the table, and then obviously the performance over the projection, obviously for us. And there's numbers on those websites with, Prep Baseball Report and Perfect Game that we look at internally, that we have, that we know that will fit our system, especially regarding to hitters. And so although the metrics are important, they don't tell the whole tale, and it looks good on paper, but the game's played on dirt. And so you have to go and watch these guys. They can get you on the board. I can write their name on the board and then go see them and kind of cross-reference from a performance standpoint is critically important.
Yeah. Zach, before I let you go, one final word on the upcoming season, sir.
We're confident, and again, I think we're hungry and we're capable of doing good things, and we're ready to show it. I think this group is ready to go, ready to play. You can only do so many Mellencamp days, but every day is important. And a little sour taste in your mouth from the regionals before, not winning, and we got big goals for this group. And I think it's going to be a sophomore-led position player group with some mixed-in freshmen, and we're older on the mound. And I think we're going to gel well. Guys are ready to go, and we're ready to perform.
Awesome. Good luck to you, man.
Awesome, Phil. I appreciate it.
Yep, talk soon. Thanks.